While it's not quite summer yet, we're getting an early slasher comedy with Hell of a Summer. This shares feels of many teen camp horrors, but does it succeed in bringing the gore and the laughs? 24-year-old camp counselor Jason arrives at Camp Pineway thinking his biggest problem is that he feels out of touch with his teenage coworkers. What he doesn't know is that a masked killer is lurking in the campgrounds, brutally picking counselors off one by one. So this comes from directors Finn Wolfhard and Billy Bryk, which is the first feature-length film for either of them. And they both also star in this, along with Fred Hechinger, DeFaro Woon-A-Tai, Abby Quinn, Pardis Saremi, Matthew Finlan, Krista Nazaire, and Julia Lalonde. Now, taking cues from all of the summer camp horrors before it, this plays out on all of the traditional tropes, but it doesn't necessarily choose the victims in traditional ways. Now, most of the story is wildly predictable, but that's not always an issue because this is a slasher, so we expect people to be picked off, ideally in novel and gruesome kills. But with the predictability, the story tension unfortunately relies on supposed intrigue and mystery about who the killer is. Now, I don't think this is obscured well at all. There might be a moment early on where the story does cast some doubt, but it's not for long. Now, some kills come very quickly into the story, which is nice for setting up mild tension, but then we're teased a bit while the film introduces us to the new camp counselors who should meet an untimely fate very soonish. The majority of the characters, though, they're written to be unlikable. They're cocky, self-absorbed, even caricatures of run-of-the-mill horror movie counselors. I mean, outside of 2 or 3 of them, I struggled to care if any of them died. One in particular, I was actually hoping he would die, but the kid just kept staying alive. Billy Bryk is 1,000% annoying in this. He's an immature and petulant whiner who suffers from an intense inferiority complex, or maybe it's just imposter syndrome. But either way, I wanted him picked off first. But because the characters are despicable, simply means that the actors, I think they were doing an effective job at creating the personas to be annoying, heartless, narcissistic, or dumb. Fred Hechinger is the absolute standout in this. He plays Jason, the 24-year-old counselor that everybody else makes fun of because he seemingly can't let go of the camp experience. But he comes across as a genuinely nice and caring guy, even when people are terrible to him. I mean, he's still optimistic and choosing to believe the best in someone even though they've shown themselves to be the complete opposite. Now, I felt sorry for him a lot of the time because he's just a sweet kid who wants to enjoy life and have others enjoy theirs too. I love that he's the discounted hero. Because we could see the integrity of his heart, this sets up situations that allow him to show all the others what he's actually made of. And that was a huge bright spot within the storytelling. And not that I was looking for cheery vibes within a horror, but with so many unlikable players, having somebody to root for made it better. Now, the 2 others that I enjoyed watching were Abby Quinn and Krista Nazaire. They're both compassionate and smart, using their brains to keep themselves alive for as long as possible. Now, because this is a slasher comedy, the story needs to excel in 2 parts: laughs and gore. The laughs are mild. I mean, I did chuckle quite a bit just thanks to some snappy retorts, and then especially through Hechinger's line delivery. And I don't think there were any moments, though, where I laughed out loud because someone said something witty or they created a comedic effect with their performance. And then there's the gore, or the lack of. The majority of the kills, they're done off camera, returning to show us the aftermath. Now, a couple of times this is good. We watch a knife slide out of somebody's skull. Another time an axe gave just way too close of a haircut. Watching the weapons exit rather than enter, it does create some satisfying grossness. But for the film, the lack of actual violence we see, it hinders the excitement of the story progression. Less is sometimes more. In this case, though, less, most certainly less. So does this end up creating anything unique or novel? I mean, not really. It has modernized thinking and approaches to relationships and dialogue, but the ideas that drive the whole slasher vibe, they're not anything out of the ordinary. And for an 88-minute long movie, this feels longer. Once a reveal comes at the beginning around the 3rd act, the momentum of the story just slows way down instead of picking up the pace. The unevenness is noticeable and it stalls the excitement. Despite all these shortcomings, I had some fun with the movie. It's cute, but unambitious, staying very safe by sticking to all of the old tropes shared by so many of its predecessors. Fred Hechinger is fantastic in his role, creating a sympathetic and humble character with hidden strength. He carried the film and gave it the heart needed to make this enjoyable. The comedy's weak, but not nearly as weak as the violence. The writing neuters the slasher aesthetic in favor of occasionally splashing some blood on walls as everything happens off-screen. This would be great as a rental, or watching with a group of friends that you have shared some herbal refreshment with. Seeing it, though, at full price at the cinema might be asking a bit too much. There's no sex or nudity, a ton of profanity, and some gory violence. I give Hell of a Summer 2.5 out of 5 couches. Again, I had fun with it, but it's not a great movie, and it's fairly forgettable. So do you have a favorite camp slasher? Let me know what you love to watch in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.